All right, perfect. I hope that was an energizing start, and we're fully awake and ready for the session that we have planned today. I don't know. I mean, we have people joining us from UK as well, so good afternoon in that case, and morning to everyone who's joining us from the US. I can see a couple of people from Europe, couple of European names, which I'm guessing are from the European side of our clientele as well as newsletter list. Uh, Either way, fantastic to have all of you with us. We want to keep it really pointed today in the discussion that we're going to have. I think holidays are around the corner. We're all going to kind of plan sales, whether it's for Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Cyber Monday in the US, or just the whole December or Boxing Day in London. So there's a mix of things that we'll all be doing. And I feel that it's better to be prepared. We've also felt that there's a lot that everybody tries to do in order to make the most of this period, and sometimes we end up doing a little bit too much. So I'm going to walk us through some things that we've learned over a period of time. Right, at ConvertCart we run about 12,000 experiments every year for more than 500 businesses, and our learning is extremely data driven. We are able to look at funnels across industries. We are able to understand how traffic behaves, when it comes in organically versus when it comes in, after having paid money to either Zuckerberg or somebody else. And so, we are able to look at the whole thing with a bird's eye view. We have clients from more than 35 industries. So there are learnings that are common across these industries, and there are learnings that are specific to, say, fashion or real estate, or for that matter, home improvement. And so, I'd love to share everything that I know. And also, for anyone who's attending this webinar, if you want us to audit your store, like a one-on-one audit of your funnel, and find where you lose conversions and revenue, we are more than happy to do that. Okay. All right. So let's jump right in. If you have any questions, you can always put them in the chat while I'm speaking. And if they're relevant to what I'm talking about in that moment, I'll take that up then and there. Otherwise, we'll take them up at the end. I think the content is pretty simple to understand, but if you have anything that is specific to your store or the scenario that you are in, I'm happy to try and add value best I can. All right. Now, everything I'm going to walk through today is immediately, implementable. That's at least what I think. If there's something that's too complex, you can always put a comment in the chat. But I don't think it should be too hard for you to implement any of these things. We have just 12 things to talk about. I intend to spend 2 to 3 minutes on each of them, and possibly gift back some of your time of the hour that we've asked you for. I'll probably, let you go much before that. So let's jump right in. Now, the first thing that I want to talk about is blanket discounts. Now, store-wide discounts are very common, and generally, if not store-wide, they are category specific or collection specific. And in those cases, what we've generally seen is that they have a lot of negative effects on the store. The first thing is that generally site-wide sales create some kind of waiting behavior in buyers, where they know that site-wide sales happen with the brand. And so they're going to, even for people who are loyal with you, they're going to wait till you put up a sale again before they buy from you. And that's one of the reasons why about 70 to 80% of all merchandise sold in the US is sold in just a matter of a few weeks, at the end of the year, because everybody knows they're going to get everything cheaper during that time. Nobody buys an iPad, nobody buys a computer, everybody waits for that time. So while that's okay and it has created some predictability in the business, I feel all of us will want to run a business that has cash flow throughout the year. So we have to think through how we do site-wide sales. The second thing that it does, it brings a lot of bargain-only traffic. And of course, generally what I've seen is you create a lot of commotion, traffic, advertising becomes cheaper, etc., because you're running a big sale. But it creates a lot of short-term gain, a lot of short-term attention that you get from people, but it does not stay with you in the long run. So I think one of the things that I recommend we always do is we segment and personalize the way that we do offers, even during Thanksgiving or even during big sales. It is possible. So, for example, for loyal buyers to be excited, it's important that you give them something on top of the discount that you would probably want to offer to them. Like, for example, even early access to discounts. Prime does it really well, right? We all know that Prime Day sales are live 2 days early for Prime members. I don't know if you know this, but Amazon Prime customers have a conversion rate of more than 65%, which means 2 out of the 3 times they visit Amazon, they buy something. That's phenomenal, because they are made to feel special, right? Free delivery, you feel like you have unprecedented access to the website. You can buy whatever you want, you won't be charged, etc. And there's a long story of how they created the whole Prime experience at Amazon and how they did that. There's a lot to learn from it, but the focus for them was kind of loyalty being the backbone of this thing. And I think that's a masterclass in how to do it. People who are browsing with you for the first time, recent browsers or new visitors, they need trust. They need to feel like they belong. So what we need to do is personalize the deal to the collection or the category they are in. And I'll talk about that a little bit more as I keep going. And then, of course, new visitors will need trust. So we'll have to find a way to create that. Instead of also giving a flat percentage off, I recommend that we switch this year to absolute dollar value that somebody is saving. Percentage discounts have lesser of an impact. We've done this A/B test hundreds of times, and we have seen that dollar discounts, just absolute dollar value in discounts, works a lot better than percentage discounts, right? The and as an extension to that idea is the fact that you're likely to have too many competing promotions when you're running big sales, and that doesn't work, because a 10% off, a free gift, and an extra 5% off, or a page that looks like this, initially it might seem like a great idea because you have a lot of sales going on, and it feels like a pretty good achievement. But it isn't, because what you're doing is you're creating contradictory priorities for the user. And what you're trying to say is that all of these collections are on sales, plus if you buy more than $300, I'll give you this, plus there's a free gift and there's free shipping, right? So there's just too much happening, and the cognitive load is just too high on the customer. What I would recommend we do instead, that if you give an offer, one offer, you focus on it really well, and then you kind of remove everything else from in front of the screen to make it very easy, right? Generally speaking, with A/B tests, we have seen that the hello bar, the one that runs on the top, and the cart page are a great way to communicate if you're running a simple offer. You don't need to do flashy pop-ups. You don't need to revamp the entire website. You can keep it simple without destroying the entire UX and putting yourself through the entire work of do the graphic design that you do every year. I recommend you try it out one of the weekends before the actual sale weekend, and you'll see that the impact is there. The second thing is, you have to find a secondary placement for the offer, and you pick where you show which offer. So for example, if you are doing a free gift, leave it in the cart, because this offer will only apply to someone who's already buying from you, and you're trying to encourage them to increase the cart value. So if there's a free gift above a certain value of purchase, it has to be in the cart. It cannot be anywhere else before, because it doesn't really matter at that point. Bundle and upsell sort of offers should not be in the cart, because I'm at my decision stage. You're stopping me from making decisions, and upselling and cross-selling and confusing me. So keep the bundling and the upselling in the product page. That works a lot better. And if there are any collection specific discounts, like a 20% off on the whole category, make it felt in the collections page. Make them feel like they're in a collection, or they're buying at this time, so there's an offer that's running on the entire collection. And I think that would go a long way. The other thing is, the customer journey map is going to be important. For example, people who are just exploring, there has to be a broad draw-in message, as we call it, right? So 40% off on everything. That's what your Facebook ad will say, right? 40% off on the holiday collection. That's what will make them click and come in, right? The comparers, once they are at the second level in their journey, and they're comparing things, that's when they will prefer something. Then they'll kind of take a look at, oh, great, you know what? If I just bundle it up, I'm getting a free gift. Or you're trying to gamify the shopping experience by saying, hey, if you buy two things together, you're gonna third thing, etc. And then the final one is the decider, which is when they're on the way out. Let them know the things that matter. For example, above this threshold, there's a free shipping, and we'll make sure that this ships before Christmas, or we'll make sure that this ships before Thanksgiving. So you're giving them confidence just at the right time. If you're going to talk about free shipping above XYZ on the homepage, they're not there yet. They're not even thinking about shipping at this point. You're making them think about shipping, as a matter of fact, when it doesn't matter. At that point, what matters is that they find a product that they love, and that's what your focus should be. So having a good search, on your site, making it easy to navigate, etc. And I'm going to talk about that as we go. The next one is over aggressive pop-ups. Now, I think I just want to officially say that it would be phenomenal if the world gave up on annoying pop-ups that don't have a really big way button to close them. I think the world needs to just throw that into the trash can right about now, because we've seen mountains of data that it does not work. Full screen pop-ups with no close button or a hidden close button in some corner, that just does not work. And we've seen that over and over again across industries. Do not interrupt the buying flow. Your customers are too precious. You don't want to annoy them. The second is, let's not create friction in any way. Stacked pop-ups, for example, I've seen that happen now, where I see a pop-up for a 15% off, and then I also see another pop-up for sign up for the newsletter. It's not that important. They are, at the end of the day, 100% of your traffic came to you because they were shopping, right? And now you've put them on a completely different track. So I think it's important that we make that separation, right? Also, just generally speaking, too many prompts feel pushy. They're not festive, they're not nice, and we just want to avoid them. What you can do is create friendly pop-ups, right, that create engagement. Like in this case, share, you're kind of capturing a problem. What's your biggest well-being frustration? It's lack of sleep, low energy. So instead of thinking of the pop-up, the user is now thinking about these things, and so the distraction is kind of worthwhile. Plus, you're collecting some phenomenal information. Also, make it very easy to close the pop-up. You don't need to hide the close button. If they just click outside of the pop-up, they should be able to close it without any issues. Also, just what we generally call it is an empathy sweep, which is when we look at a site, we would just browse through the experience to see if the website is empathetic to the user or not, right? If your pop-ups are coming even before I browse, if feelings like irritation, frustration, lack of fluidity, all of those things come up, then there's a lack of empathy on the site, and we need to focus on creating that, because that's what your buyers want. Running a timing and frequency check as well is very important. More often than not, I see pop-ups come up almost as soon as we enter the site, and that's problematic because some of your most precious traffic is coming organically, and the moment they come in, if you're going to ask them for their email, it's a no-go. So please turn those pop-ups off. They don't serve you good purpose. You are collecting maybe a few emails, but it's not worth it to completely destroy their experience. All right, this is a very interesting one and often ignored. I also use a Chrome extension that allows me to see everything in dark mode, except for this document, because I was presenting, I switched it to light mode. But generally, speaking, I prefer everything to be dark mode, including my phone and other devices. And even if your website does not have a dark mode, there are Chrome extensions that people use. About 25% of the internet traffic now uses extensions like those, which convert your website into a dark mode, even without you actually doing it, or Shopify actually doing it for you if you're on Shopify. So what that does is it creates an issue. First, I think you should totally consider having a dark mode. Second, even if you don't, you have to make sure that your website is dark mode compatible. So go to the Chrome App Store, install one of those apps. It's free, and just open your website. And the first realization that you'll have is that there are invisible texts, the buttons maybe are vanishing, and so on and so forth. So I think it's important that you look at it, and then you optimize your experience so that it's visible on dark mode. Here is kind of a quick comparison. On the left is a website that is doing well on dark mode. On the right is a website that, if you see, the content looks a little washed out, it doesn't get the right kind of attention. And the other thing is, especially during festive season, you can't take these risks, right? You are going to see a 40 to 80% spike in traffic and demand, which means that if you're at 100K sort of traffic, you're getting 100,000 extra people coming in during this period, and 25,000 out of them are going to be on dark mode. There's no debating the fact that they'll use some kind of an app or something to be on dark mode. And so you have to be cautious about that when you do that. I think just simple fixes will take care of it. Festive graphics being optimized, adding soft glows, And it doesn't need to be dull. I think you should consciously go and add a dark mode, but even if you don't, you have to optimize for it. So that's the big takeaway that I want you to have from here. Right. And the second is, of course, design chaos. The picture is pretty self-explanatory. We all have a friend that is a little extra, and while they're a great friend, they are a little extra. So you don't want to be that guy. If you want to be that guy and your brand is that, by all means, you could own up to that image, and be that brand. But I still feel that you have to make it easy for people to absorb everything that you're doing. For example, I don't know if you know about JB Hi-Fi. It's an electronics chain in Australia, right? The brand is extremely quirky, right? Everything that they do, the entire branding, if you see, is extremely quirky, right? Really sharp colors, if you see my screen. But what they do also is that where it matters, they pull back a little bit, right? So if I, for example, see a product listing with them, the moment I'm in a listing, a PDP, you see the brand is still there, but it's not as quirky, right? The information that is important is still presented in a human way. They're not going overboard with the design. So I feel that happens a lot during the holidays. People sometimes end up making their experience maybe too cluttered, and I feel that we can solve that very easily. You're killing focus if you create chaos. Visual fatigue is very, very fast because every website is doing something, right? There's snowfall literally happening on the screen in some cases. So it's there's really a lot that's happening, and we have to really think through of how much of that really is relevant to driving business, or isn't. Let's not feel cheap. Let's feel cheerful. What you want to do is keep things simple and classy. The reason I also say that is not to go away from your brand, but to generally make it easy for people to consume the information you throw their way, and let your products be the hero, right? Let your products do the talking. Make sure that it's really simple. When people see your website, they should, at the end of the day, they're there to shop. Let them find something they can truly love. Let them do that easily and then check out, right? um, I also think we've seen this 100 times. Some people add sounds to the website during holidays. We've seen that does not generally work. So you could completely skip that, and you can save that effort completely. Also, think mobile first when you're doing clutter. In a lot of cases, I've seen that design happens in a silo from the rest of the website. So what I really mean by that is the owner of the website or the chief marketing officer instructs the design team to start putting together banners and something that can launch the festive sale. And those banners, everything else is being exchanged on a Slack group or on WhatsApp or whatever in a silo, meaning you're just seeing the banner. You're not seeing how it looks when it's on the website. You only see that when it actually makes it to staging. And so the problem with that is when everything is put together and you switch to mobile, it looks really horrendous. So think mobile first. Focus purely on mobile. I would say desktop should be your number two priority at all times. I know we all go to the office. I think all e-commerce entrepreneurs should not lock into their laptops when they reach office or sit down for work. The first thing that they should do is operate their website on the phone every day, and then get into kind of everything else from there, right? If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. I'm going to keep going. We are almost halfway here, and I think we have some more interesting points to walk everybody through here. So yeah, I'm all ears. If you have questions, you can put them in the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to keep going. Okay. All right. Manipulative CTAs. Like, we've seen that a lot. I think I would have seen this 100 times where I see that there's a sale on a collection, and I click on it, and then I figure out that about 70% of it is out of stock, right? And so I think what you're trying to do is break trust. Pushy lines like "only a fool would miss this deal" or guilt-based pressure, right? Is not the flavor anymore. There was a time when everybody did that. Now I think brands have also, one of the things is, once something starts to work, it kind of goes all over, and then it stops working almost immediately. Like one of those social media posts that people have been doing with where it says official apology from the brand, and then it's a promotion once you start reading it. that kind of stuff just it actually creates the opposite of a good feeling in the customer's mind. People are smart. Most people are smart, and they're going to see through it. So create warmth as a brand, make people feel nice, make people feel like you're a generous company, and it goes a long way. What you want to make sure that you do is make the CTS click worthy. Find the perfect gift. See the gift bundles. Explore the holiday picks, etc. 100% happiness promise ideas, etc. So just kind of have a optimistic, positive undertone to your messaging all over, and you will automatically stand out because people will gravitate towards that naturally. When you're up against someone who's doing one of those pop-ups that says, no, I don't want the discount, I'm stupid, right? So why would you want to make the customer feel bad about browsing the website? It's just doesn't make any sense, right? So holiday fatigue is real. Clean buttons, gentle animations, great deals, great products, great value, made visible and made easy to understand is what's going to be the winner this year. Nav bars, search bars, and personalization are the three most important bets that you can make this year. So if you are looking to optimize before the sales even start, and you have the bandwidth to do that, or if you're using a conversion rate optimization team like ConvertCart, where we do this for our customers, this is going to matter a lot, because when you have sales running, you are essentially doubling up or at least growing your collections by 30 or 40%. So currently, for example, if you're a fashion store, you will have men, women, kids. You filter by sizes, by style, by whether it's a top or a bottom, etc., etc. When sales begin, you're going to add more collections, right? So there's going to be sales, clearance, discounts, everything that's 30% off, everything that's 40% off, and so on and so forth. So you're going to create more ways for people to get lost. And what you want to do is use your nav bar to make things easy. Make sure it's not overloaded. Make sure you're not creating too many links like gift by price, by mood, by color for pets, right? Don't overwhelm, especially mobile users. And make sure that you're on track with that. So the simplification of navbar can be done very easily. Even this Sephora navbar is not something that is phenomenal, but I think they do a decent job. If you see, there's just too much happening here as well. And so you want to just keep it simple, right? Create a distinct holiday hub of sorts, where you have, just the top two or three things that matter. Example, if you're a gifting store, right? If you do bouquets and wine packages and chocolates and that kind of stuff, we have a very large company that we work with that does that. In their case, we've done tests over the last 4 years, and we have narrowed down to something really simple, that there are only three things that people really care about. The first is who they are gifting, and the second is how much the gift really costs, right? So as long as you can help them choose gifts for mom or gifts for the wife, and they can see something that's between $200 to $400, they're good, right? That's the two levels of filtration you need to give them. And then let them dive into the catalog, let them browse, let them find something that makes sense to them. Use icons with care. I often see that there's an overload of emojis and icons, and there's like bells hanging on the top, and there's snowfall happening in the website, as I already said. So just be careful, be cautious about that. And generally speaking, test the entire experience under pressure, right? I often say this, do the baby and mom test, right? So hold a baby in your right hand and your phone in your left hand, and then browse your website, right? So that's the way to know if that's your ideal customer profile. That's the way to know if your website is easy to browse or not, right? Because if your nav bar is tucked away in one corner and you have your left hand, it's impossible to reach that nav bar. So you're going to have to design the site like a mobile application for it to be usable for a person like that. Forgetting the post purchase experience, extremely important. You don't want people to feel like they were sold something. You want them to feel like they made a fantastic decision, right? For example, I don't know if you've bought this. I tried it once, but I just want to give you a couple of examples of great buying experiences. Athletic Greens, although is a controversial health supplement, is very famous, but the purchase experience with Athletic Greens is phenomenal. when you get the packaging, the communication that you get along with it, they remind you to take it, they make sure that they tell you how you're supposed to be benefiting from it. The packaging is phenomenal, you get freebies with it. So the thing is that with one transaction you are likely to win hearts instead of just winning customers, and that should be your focus with the post packaging, post purchase experience. One of the things that I think, um, uh, things that happen is that anxiety replaces excitement almost immediately after somebody places an order. They're going to think about if it's going to reach them in a timely way or not. Do not create absolute silence. Continue to engage people. Have a post purchase funnel in place. Set up a flow. So we do that as well. We run email marketing for more than 100 customers right now, with millions of emails that we send every day. And post purchase is a very key part of creating loyalty. And you're losing repeat potential if the deadline doesn't carry to the next level. So how you could give the shopper a fantastic post purchase experience is, right after checkout, give them reassurance, right? Your order is placed, the team is working for it, we are all hands on deck. Put a photo of your warehouse, right? Put a nice meme where it says everybody's putting tape on boxes, kind of stuff, that we're on it. You know what, we're going to make sure it reaches you, sort of stuff. The second is turn delivery itself into delight. Put a handwritten note in there. I've seen, people that we've worked with when they were small, they did that so well that, some of their loyal customers are still with them. For example, I had this gentleman who was running a health supplement store, out of Minnesota. And so in their case, during the holidays, they asked, this guy had 4 kids. They asked the kids to write handwritten notes, thank you notes, short ones. Thank you for buying. I'm so and so, and we are so thankful of you having chosen us for the holidays. And it's fantastic. You open it, there's a kid who's written a handwritten note for you. I think it takes it to the next level for sure. Proactively manage delays, right? If weather or volume slows shipping, I think you've got to kind of make sure that you compensate for that with gift cards or a digital note, maybe of some kind, right? Last 3 suggestions, and then I'm going to take questions. So if you have anything, although I do believe that the insights that I've shared so far are pretty simple, but I'm still open to taking questions if you have any. And once again, if you want us to audit your store, we're happy to do that. All right. Price points breach familiar psychological, threshold. This is a very common, misconception that, you are trying to use these age-old ideas to create the feeling of excitement. I'm going to give you some new ones, and then, some things that might matter. Um, uh, the most interesting thing that you can do are just kind of take a look at your entire pricing, the pricing on the website, your most expensive to your least expensive product, and then look at a product level conversion rate, right? And look at what products are getting the most clicks versus most conversions. Like, I'll just give you an example. We had a jeweler that we were working with in New York. We still work with a bunch of jewelers out of New York. And on their website, they had a diamond studded Wolverine necklace, which had Wolverine claws, right? So really an extremely specific product that's not going to appeal to a lot of people. But that product has the highest traffic on their website because it would, on social media, it would land up on someone's story every once in a while, someone famous. And they say, hey, look at this ridiculousness. And then people would visit that page. So, when we saw that skew in traffic and we looked at the traffic separately, there were pages which had lower traffic, but the conversion rate was extremely high. So I'm just saying you have to kind of look at what prices are people appealing to more versus less, what pages have high traffic versus more conversions, and where does the funnel work better versus worse in general in terms of collections. Once you've done that, then create anchoring with pricing. For example, you're saying, hey, everything is 149 here, but for the next 3 days everything is going to be 99, and so you're anchoring price at 149. The anchored value is much higher. So show the bigger price first and then the smaller price, generally speaking. And also structure the store by spending tiers. So I already said this to you about that gifting store as well, right? So that this is a very, very easy thing to do. If there is a gift corner that you're creating in your store experience, you need to do the tiering. So gifts under 25, under 100, under 200, and then so on. And I think that would go a long way. Um, as I keep going, I think we are on the second last idea now. Delivery and return policies. I'm going to keep this really simple. Uh, I don't know why when on sale brands, I understand that there's cost, but when you take away, when you add a sale and you take away flexibility, it reduces trust. So sales in general are not a trust building element, they're an excitement building element, right? So when you run a 50% off, it doesn't make anybody trust you more. It just increases your chances of them buying, because now they need lesser trust to buy from you because the value has gone down. So when you also remove returns or delivery related flexibilities, that takes trust away. So your sales don't have a net positive impact if you take that away. So generally speaking, gifting is going to make people anxious. There will be people who will do things last minute, and there will be sizes that won't fit. So if you are very strict with your returns, it's going to kill confidence. And if you don't have flexibility, it's going to be an issue. So I would recommend we sit down and do the math and think through what your RTO, which is return to origin, was last 2 years, and what was the cause of return to origin, and how can you avoid that cause instead of just creating blanket no returns or no returns on discounted orders sort of policy, if that's possible. Policies can be a win-win, right? Free shipping, free returns, 20% off. I know larger companies are, they're flush with cash and they're more likely to do things like this. But I still feel that we should bet on this, and the dividends that it will pay you in terms of a higher conversion rate are going to be much more than the cost that you might incur in actually honoring these promises. Extend the return window, give them the ability to return the product up until Jan, right? Be transparent about the delays. If there are any delays, just let people know. In fact, don't promise deliveries as much as possible. What you could also do is, instead of promising when the product will reach them, promise when the product will leave your warehouse. That way you're making promises. Your your ego will be writing checks that your body can cash, as they say in Top Gun, right? So you want to make sure you make promises you can keep. And offer perks for early bird shopping. Also influence behavior in the opposite direction, right? If you don't want people to be last minute, make sure they buy early. If you don't want to pick them to pick the wrong size, do a size comparison. Like, for example, we have a client that does snow boots, and so they have a size chart. And what they do is they compare their size chart with Adidas and Nike, right? So that's so counterintuitive that they're putting somewhat, in some way, a competitor on the website, but they know that the whole world has bought Adidas, Nike, New Balance, and all these other brands. So they're saying, hey, if you're a UK 11 or a US 12 in Nike, you are a US 11 and a half in my brand. And it's powerful because it creates so much trust for people that they pick the right size almost always, and there are no returns because of that. So you've got to kind of be smart about how you handle that. False urgency is dead. There was a travel company that recently got fined more than $1 million, more than 1 million euros in Europe, because they were selling flight tickets that said, hey, only 3 left. This is kind of running out, because it was deceptive, and that was not true. They had 3 left with them. The flight had more seats. And so that's obviously problematic. And the European courts, I think we all know that they will come after you if you make the wrong promise. But don't kill credibility by saying something that's not true. Don't make your customers a skeptic. They're gonna when they look at something like that, they're gonna not instantly trust you. They're gonna instantly doubt you. They're gonna think if this is even true, right? And don't turn excitement into pressure, right? Instead, do smart messaging. I really loved this. For example, this is probably how most of our alarm apps or clock apps look like on iPhone, right? Multiple alarms. You're originally supposed to wake up at 2 a.m. and you're setting up like 7 alarms leading up to it. And great copy, great play with the design, and just plays into the urgency without having to do a timer and say that you need to buy right away sort of stuff. Flip the tone is what I would try to say, right? We've got you covered till all Black Friday weekend, right? Hurry or miss out instead of hurry or miss out, etc. Right? Also, if an offer repeats, you can just tell them that it repeats instead of running a timer. I have seen a website. I won't tell you what website it is. They sell, phone skins, and they have a timer running on their website 365 days of the year, and the timer is for 2 hours, right? So after every 2 hours, it starts running again, and everybody knows that it's running. So it was a hack that might have worked for them for 6 months, but then once the repeat cycle starts, it's completely dead. Right. So I think we'll go to the final one, is which is again timers. Um, I've seen that happen a lot. That you have sales that are running on the site. So you're saying, hey, from Thursday up until Monday is when this is going to run. So, Black Friday, Cyber Monday. And then you have the product page saying that it's going to be 4 hours. There's another product that's, locked in only for 15 minutes and so on. So I feel that you've got to be extremely cautious about how you, communicate this, how you communicate the discount. And that's going to go a really long way. Don't overwhelm people. Keep it simple. If you want a countdown timer, make them believable. For example, in this case, it says items will remain in your bag for 20 minutes, right? That's a subtle, really, simple sort of timer. You're not creating fake urgency or unnecessary urgency, right? Pick a core urgency driver, right? Use a single line, a meaningful timer, no fake resets, right? As I already mentioned, and pair countdowns with context, right? Still time to order. It will ship for free if you order in the next 24 hours, and then actually finish the offer in 24 hours. Don't keep it running, right? All right, perfect. So those are 12 ways in which you could avoid your conversions from getting killed. I know there are some things that you were probably planning on doing, and we are suggesting you don't do. But yeah, I hope this was of value. I hope I was able to give you ideas that you'll be able to implement. Once again, we are happy to take a look at your store. You're still in time to run some optimizations and maybe even A/B test through the season. But yeah, if you have any questions, I'm all ears. I'm going to wait for a couple of minutes. There were two that came up in my DM chat, and I've already answered them while I was talking. So I hope that's fine. But yeah, if you have any questions, I'm happy to take them right away. Otherwise, yeah, I hope I was able to gift you back about 20 minutes of your time. And yeah. All right, perfect. I think we're good. Thank you so much for your time, everyone. Have a fantastic sale season. We're going to do another one closer to Thanksgiving, I believe, or just after it. So I look forward to it, and we'll be in touch very soon. Thank you so much. Have a good one.